9/11. It was not a very cheery topic happening back then in 2001, where Al-Qaeda decided to come destroy us. However, during this whole time of this time period of 9/11 happening, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories, so let's check it out. You didn't see 9/11! Let's talk about this! Originating from, multiple historical things like the rise of Al-Qaeda, older terrorist attacks like the bombing of the parking garage of the World Trade Center, and there's also zero airport security, which it makes sense. There was also sometimes there was evidence or main claims or main theories that the rapid falling of the Twin Towers couldn't have actually happened because of how the jet fuel and the office fires can generate enough heat to melt steel, which it kind of makes sense. So let's start off with some of the first evidence that we come up with, which is Richard Gage and the Architects and Engineering for 9/11 Truth. Supporters argue that the jet fuel in the office fire could not generate enough heat to melt steel. They also claim that the Twin Towers should not have collapsed from the fires alone. There is also another theory that they use, which is called the Iraq-Moore motive theory, which is some supporters argue that President George W. Bush, yes, this President George W. Bush, I'm putting on screen right now, I don't know why they think about it, but his administration wanted a reason to invade Iraq. They believe the attacks were allowed to happen or were used to gain support from military actors. Supporters point to the later Iraq wars as evidence of a positive motive, and others even made a YouTube documentaries claiming that the Twin Towers were specifically designed to withstand airplane impacts, and which makes people question whether the official explanations fully accounts for the collapse. There's also suggestions that the towers fell too quickly to have been caused by fires and structural damage. It also helps raise a lot of questions about the collapse of the buildings and the events of 9/11. Now let's talk about the counterpoints and counter-evidence on why 9/11 wasn't an inside job to be fully exact. Now onto one source, which is engineering explanations for the collapse. They state that steel does not need to melt completely in order to fail. They also state that extreme heat from jet fuel and office fires weaken the beam supports, which therefore the weakened steel supports could no longer support the weight of the buildings, which undeniably caused the collapse of the upper four buildings, creating a chain reaction that caused the towers to fall. Another statement of evidence is using the official 9/11 Commission report. Investigators found they examined witness testimonies, intelligence reports, and physical evidence. They also found extensive evidence connected to the attacks Al-Qaeda. There was no evidence that the US government planned or carried out the attacks. It showed that the government's agencies were largely unprepared for an attack this scale. And one last piece of evidence that we have is the PBS NOAA investigation. They examined claims about the molten metal and the controlled demolition. Experts exclaim that the molten aluminum from the airplanes could explain multiple reports of molten material. There was also found no evidence of pre-planted materials, so that means the theory or conspiracy theory of that the Twin Towers was a controlled demolition was false. It concluded that the collapse can be explained by the structural damage and the fire. From the last of all this evidence combined to both the point and the counterpoints evidence, I value that the counterpoints evidence is more convincing than the conspiracy theory evidence. Engineering studies and official investigations prove stronger support for the speculation. The 9/11 Commission report literally found no evidence for the government involvement. Scientific studies explain how the building collapsed without the need of explosives, and based on the evidence, I do not believe 9/11 was an inside job. More so, Benjamin Netanyahu caused it. Yeah.
じゃあな